What's the matter?
Ate a couple of nacho steak fry burritos from Taco Bell, and
How's that treating you?
might pass out or shit my pants. One or the other. We'll see. We touch and go for a minute.
Just fight through.
If I
I'll tell
just
you
start
what'll help.
sweting profusely.
If you just drink more,
Yeah, that's always good.
that'll
Just pour
settle
a
it
little
down.
Topo Chico tropical mango on top of it.
All right, let's roll.
Let's be clear about this, guys. We're not going to agree on everything.
I'm new in town.
How was your day? How the fuck was your day?
I'm the machine!
You might be a redneck.
A bunch of men talking about barbecue grill.
Animals must think we're idiots. We're idiots.
Potato salad.
Since you love me so much.
What's the deal with airplane peanuts?
What I would suggest is just start.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Opening the Mic. It is a weekly podcast where you follow along with two open micer schlub-ass comedians on their journey from where we are currently to real deal, official, respected by our peers comedians. I'm Travis Stevenson.
And I'm John Murphy, and I will never respect your ass, bitch.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you respect me.
You're gonna learn today.
I'll fuck you till you love me. Word I can't say. Remember when Mike Tyson said that?
Yeah. How do you forget that?
Mike Tyson, where he looked at the reporter, he goes, "I'll fuck you till you love me." Gay
Derogatory
slur.
gay slur that starts with an F. It.
I'm like, is that an insult or like is that?
Yeah, that seems.
Is that negging? I never learned how to neg. I feel like that's negging.
I think he's trying to bang that dude.
Yeah.
All right. So last week we went over some stuff. We went over trying some new clubs for the first time. Me absolutely bodying you at both of those clubs. And then we talked about the lovely Chris Rock Will Smith debacle.
Yeah, the slap heard round the world.
We also talked about the fact that someone who remained nameless stated that you did not have 20 minutes.
And then, because at the club that we were at, I won a competition. And like part of the prize for winning is you get to feature for a traveling act. So I got to feature for Michael Palisak. I think that's how you say his name. There's a lot of consonants in there. It's a very Polish sounding name. Right. Clean comedian. Fucking monster. He did a set and people were dying laughing. And halfway through, I look over and I'm like, is this dude clean? Like, he hasn't said a curse word.
That's exactly what I thought.
He's killing stone cold clean.
That's how you know when a clean comic's good is when they're halfway through their act before you go, wait a minute, this guy's clean.
Is he doing this clean?
Yeah. Like if it starts out in 5 minutes and you're like, he's pretty good for clean. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But this dude like didn't even know he was clean up to this point. Dude, I was laughing hard.
Nate Bargatze-esque. Like, because when you watch Dry Bar, sometimes you're like, there's something missing. If he would just say fuck or shit or that lady was a real poopy head. You mean bitch. You can say bitch. It's fine.
Yeah. Bargatze, speaking of that, one of my all-time favorites as of recent, like Bargatze kills me, dude. He's so good. And I was halfway through his second special before I was like, wait a minute, this dude's clean. Dude, that guy is built different.
Murderer.
He is so good.
It's like when you listen to Brian Regan, you're like, I get it, because it's a lot of dad joke type humor, and you're just like...
But it's very obvious he's clean. And Gaffigan gets a lot of shit for being a clean comic. First of all, he's not 100% clean.
No.
And I think he's really good.
He's just not, like, dirty, filthy. He's not edgy.
Yeah. But Bargatze is not... There's not even slightly blue material in there. By the way, for those uninitiated, blue material is material that's, like, dirty or filthy or...
Crosses a line.
Offends people, could make people walk, whatever. And Nate doesn't even come close to touching blue, and that dude kills me, dude. He is so funny.
He seems like the clean comedians who are good are the ones who talk about just mundane material, but they make it in a way that, like, everybody understands.
Right.
And, I mean, I think that's probably all comedy, right? You take something that's not... Because, I mean, if you go with something that's offensive, it's almost like, well, yeah, the joke's right there because there's so much tension in just the topic, and tension release is like the standard formula for getting a laugh. It's like you build up some sort of tension and then you release it with like a playful, resolution to all that tension. But like clean comedians who are good, like this guy that Michael Pallet, who is talking about his kids, talking about doing laundry or whatever.
Yeah.
And he could somehow make that relatable. I mean, of course it's relatable. It's an everyday topic, but he could somehow make tension out of that and then make it funny.
Yeah. And like a lot of the topics he was touching on were, like you said, super mundane things that like you think about every day, but just the way he brings it to you, you're like, wow, that's a really funny way to say that. And I think that's a divider in the clean comedy world, which neither of us are even remotely close to clean. It's pretty offensive, most of it. But I think that's a divider, is if you're going to be a clean comic, you can't, like the guys who try to blur that line and get close to offensive but not say the words they're not supposed to. It's like they're towing a line, just the wrong line. They're towing the line between clean and dirty, as opposed to being dirty and towing the line of offensive and not.
I've thought about
and
trying
it's so
clean
obvious.
too, where like I'll take existing jokes that I've got and I'm just replace the off-color topics and the dirty words with clean stuff, and like you can tell. It's like when the joke needs
missing.
you to say fuck and you don't say it, you can tell. It's like I told her what the frick.
Yeah.
And it's just like it doesn't hit the same.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't take material that needs the cussing and take it away and it still be just as good.
I did okay. Like I tried my first clean joke, and I didn't realize it was clean until I was doing it, and I'm like, you know what? I can do this clean because I only say like a curse word at the beginning, and I talk about
And it's not a needed one.
Yeah, I talk about something off-color at the end, where like I make a sexual reference to something that isn't sexual, but I'm like, oh, I could get a laugh here. And I'm like, I could just scrap these two, and I could do this clean. And then it became a thing for me. I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
And I go up on stage, and I'm so nervous about fitting it in because it's a story I'm telling. And then I try to do a sidebar where I talk about, this off-the-wall topic. And I'm like, I can do this clean. And I try to get through it. And at the end of it, I'm just excited that I got through it and I got some laughs. Because anytime you try something new, you're nervous it's just going to fall flat on its face. Yeah. Well, this got laughs all the way through. I'm like, okay, cool. And then at the end of it, people are like, oh, good job. And I'm like, oh, I think I did it clean. I don't think I cursed. I'm like, wait a second, you did that clean? I was like, oh, hell yeah. That's the best thing you could be told.
Yeah, that's the goal, is if you get to that point and people don't even realize it was clean.
So speaking of which, Michael Palasak was a clean comedian, but I was also getting to open for him, or feature for him rather, and I had to do 20. And recently before that, like I bombed at a mic that we did away. So we traveled for it. We went there. I ate all the dicks in the world. And then this guy comes up to me and says, oh, you got 20 that you're going to be doing? You ain't got it.
Yeah.
And like it just bowled, crushed all my hopes and dreams right then and there. So I was really nervous and I was in my head about this. I'm like, shit, maybe I don't have 20. Even though that I've done 10 several times and I've got all these different 5s that I've done. I'm like, I could just piece them together. I could just talk slower. I mean, hell, I've done 15 on accident.
Right.
By trying to squeeze too much in. I'm like, if I just slow down, because I talk fast as shit anyways. If I slow down a little bit, 20 should be no problem. And then
this guy gets in your head.
Gets in my head. I'm like, fuck, he's
don't.
right. I don't have 20. Maybe I know I've got 10, but that's not 20. And I go and I get up there and I'm nervous about it and I'm doing it and everything's going really well. I'm doing really well, and I'm also cursing a lot and I'm talking about porn on my dick and this, that, and the other before I realized this dude was clean, which is kind of a no-no. If you're, the general rule is like the headliner needs to be the guy who pushes the person that pushes the envelope the furthest.
Yeah.
You don't want to be really, really, really dark before a clean comedian because the audience has already gotten taken to a certain level that it might ruin the laughs for that person.
Yeah, you can't come back from it.
Exactly. It's like
unless you're fucking this guy and it doesn't matter because he's still crushed.
It's like if you watch a really gory murder horror movie and then right after that you're supposed to watch a rom-com, it's just like you won't enjoy it as much as if you would watch rom-coms back to back.
Yeah, because you've already been taken to a heavier place.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hard to lighten the mood and go back to laughing at relationship jokes. So anyways, and then I do it and I get through it and I put all this material in there. I was like, I remembered it all. I didn't have to write anything down. I was real nervous about it. Felt sick as shit the entire day, and I was like, maybe I'm getting sick. Maybe I'm coming down. Just nerves.
Yep.
And the nerves had gotten me so bad that like I'm gonna throw up and pass out all day. And then I get off and I'm like, fuck yeah, I did it. And I walk by and people are telling me I did good. And I walk back there and somebody's like, yeah, I think you had like 18 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm like, fuck, that's still not 20. He's right. I don't have 20. I'm like, if he was there, he's like, told you, you ain't got 20. You have 18 minutes and 34 seconds. It's not 20, is it, bitch?
It was 20. You talk super fast.
Yeah.
You could have slowed down, not stepped on a laugh or two and had 20 easy.
And I brought my parents. It's the first time I've ever let them watch me do stand-up. And because like my mom's my biggest cheerleader and she wants me to do well in life, she's also so critical.
Yeah, I gathered.
Like, it's so bad telling, like, as soon as I told her I could do stand-up, I was trying it. She's like, oh, let me hear some of your jokes. Those aren't funny. She's like, here's what you should do. And then, like, that's
yeah, that's
the
your
worst
mom.
thing ever. Yeah. So I get off stage, and then like they aren't looking too thrilled. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I ask her how it did. She goes, I don't like how you laugh at your jokes. That's annoying. I was like, well, fuck you, bitch, first off.
Well, I agree with her.
Yeah. But then, like, I don't remember doing that. So we had the whole thing taped, and then she brought that up to me a while later. She goes, are you still laughing at your jokes? I'm like, I didn't laugh at my goddamn jokes, Mom. So I had to play her the whole, and it's awkward too, because she's the kind of person that she'll bring out a video for you on her phone, which is hard for her because she's of advanced age. And then she goes to play it. When she finally gets it punched up punch it up. As soon as she finally gets it punched up and you go to watch it, she's the kind that it doesn't matter if it's a 14-minute fucking video and you're in the middle of traffic, she will make you watch the whole damn thing. Mm-hmm. So whenever I go to start it, I'm like, see, what part do you think I laughed at my own jokes, Mom? And then we listened to the whole thing before she was like, you actually did pretty good. And then she's like, can you send me that? I want to show my mom.
Now I want to show everyone.
I'm like, well, my 93-year-old grandmother does not need to hear the jokes.
That. What is it with old people and saying shit like punch it up? Yeah, punch that up. My dad's absolute go-to phrase all the time is Google that shit.
That sounds cool though.
It's not. Because, like the most recent, we were hunting and he needed a new pair of waders, and I told him that they were on sale.
Let me just say that like that's just regular conversation. He's just hunting on a new pair of waders and just.
Yeah, bro, I'm fucking trash as fuck. I don't know where have you been? I've been this way since we were 12. Anyway, he's like, I need a new pair of waders. And I was like, I think Rogers has them on sale. He's like, well, get me a pair. I'm like, I can't just. Okay, hey Google, order waders. Like I don't like. It's gonna take a minute. I'm gonna need to know your size. I need a credit card because I'm not buying them motherfuckers. And it's like they don't understand the time frame it takes to do some things, and then other things. It's like, well, I ain't got time for all that. And it's like it's 2 clicks.
Yeah,
there's like no grasp of it whatsoever. And I'm afraid that in a very short amount of time, we're gonna become those people. Like I'm so afraid that I'm close to that age.
Anytime anybody uses Gen Z speak now, I'm like, I'm using that wrong.
Yeah.
Like in a joke, I try to use okay bet, and I'm like, I don't want to say it because I know I'm fucking it up. What does it mean? I'm like, you can't Urban Dictionary that
you
shit.
Can't Google okay bet.
Yeah, it's just like, when do I? Okay, because I can use it, but I'm going to be using it like someone's saying the Walmarts. Like I know I'm going to fuck it up.
Right. Yeah. And
they were like, do you want to go get nachos? I'm like, yes, let's get nachos. Okay, bet. I'm like, that's not how it goes.
It's
your drip is looking fit. What? Fit's awful drippy, bet. Go. Okay, bet. Okay, bet. Okay, bet. I'm still young.
I'm so afraid that I'm about to be that guy who's going to have to ask someone younger than me to like fix a thing, because that used to frustrate me. So I'm like, how do you not know how to, fix your computer? How do you not know how to hook up a TV? And I'm afraid that like something's going to come out in the next few years where I'm going to have to call like a cousin or a nephew or a niece or something, like, hey, can you fix my TV? Like I'm so afraid to be that guy because I was that kid for so long and I hated it. And I'm so afraid I'm going to be that guy.
I think we're more technically sound than the younger generation. Like they know the cool terms. I never knew the cool terms even when I was like in high school, and that was the cool shit. I was always like, I don't use those words, and I'm not around people who use those words.
Just you in middle school, like, hey, man, we're going to go to Taco Bell, and you're like, groovy.
I remember dope was cool in the 90s.
I still say dope.
But I said
constantly.
dope. I said dope when it wasn't cool. Because like that's, like, oh, yeah, dope. We're all stars in the Dope Show, Marilyn Manson. Like, I remember dope.
Yeah.
And then finally, like, dope became cool, and I was like, hell yeah, dope. And I'm like, I fit in. And then it became uncool again, and I'm like, I guess I'm back to being on the outside of this.
I still say shit is fire all the time. Mm-hmm. And
litty like a titty.
That's not cool anymore. You can't like, dude, that shit was fire. And I was like, okay, Grandpa.
I corrected somebody one time because they said that shit was bomb, and I'm like, you mean the bomb? And I'm like, it's probably da bomb, but like, I don't think we used that anymore.
That's flames, bro.
I got in one.
Straight flames.
There's a girl at our club that's really young. I don't know, 23, 22.
I don't know.
It's Rain. I don't know how old she is. She's young with a name like Rain. She's something.
She's not a boomer.
Yeah, exactly. So she needs some like headshots, and I have a camera. So she's like, can you give me some headshots? I'm like, sure.
That's literally your only credential.
But I tried, and I tried to Gen Z speaker a little bit. I'm like, yeah, so whenever you come over, just if you got any inspo pics of a fit that or whatever that you like, just send it over, and then we'll try to recreate that. And she goes, low key, what's an inspo pic? And I'm like, what's low key? Like, we just got this thing.
Can we? All right, here's what I need from you.
Okay, let me speak in regular English. Okay, I need a reference photo because I don't know what I'm doing. So if you could find something you like, I will try to recreate that because, like, I know how to work a camera. I just don't know how to work a person.
Right,
So,
yeah.
like, and I'm like, Kayla gets on to me all the time. My wife gets on to me all the time for this. Like, if I am, like, taking a photo of somebody, I'll get tired of telling them what I want, and eventually I'll just move them.
Yep.
And, like, I don't understand that I don't have, like, a soft touch. So I'm like, fucking abusing these people. You grab them their head, just click.
Dude, when we were doing my headshots, like for 5 minutes, you're like, lean forward. I'm like, dude, if I lean any further forward, I'm falling. I can't. And you're like, all right, well, maybe try leaning back. Yeah, that's what I wanted the whole time. And I'm like, well, why didn't you say that? You're like, you know what I fucking meant. I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I didn't.
No, I needed you to lean forward, but, like, I just lean
But
more
this way.
forward. Yeah, but that way. Camera forward.
And
But there's this lady I did headshots for, and she's like this sweet, dainty, middle-aged-ish lady. I think she's in her 40s. I'm not sure. But, like, I was taking photos, and I got so tired of, like, not telling her the right thing, so I just started, like, grabbing her and moving her. Kayla's like, you gotta realize you're being really rough. I'm like, am I? And then I look over, and she's rubbing her neck. Like, oh, fuck, I just gave this bitch whiplash. Like, yeah, just turn your head a little bit. No, like this, turn your head. And then, like, I would try to say, like, and then, like, she had her lips, like, pouty, and I was like, kind of bite the back of your lip, like, pull it back a little bit. And then she was like, I'm like, this is not a boudoir shoot. Like, I don't know how to, like,
it could be.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know how to tell you what is in my head. So, like, let me just do it.
Yeah, you're not great with directions.
No.
I'll be honest with you.
Because I don't know, like, in a video I can do, because you can't lie in video, but in cameras, like, we've all seen it. We've all seen these girls who have, and guys who have profile pics that you're like, damn, that person is an attractive human being, and you see them in real life, and you're like, look at this fucking warlock. What the fuck? Like, I heard the camera adds 50 pounds, but you
What
somehow made
filter
yourself...
were you using?
I know, you had the tall, dark, and handsome, and instead you just look like short, squat, and ridiculous.
All right.
Oh, God.
We're
Oh, no.
fine. No spills. We're fine. What was the next thing we were going to talk? I
Oh, you got to try hosting.
did
So
host for the
whenever
first
you're
time.
doing comedy, there's a few different avenues that you can get into. And what I've been told, never done it, but what the owner of the club says is hosting is a great thing that you can do to get more stage time, get more exposure, because it's a thing that helps you out. You can try your jokes while you're hosting. You can try improv, crowd work, and it's something that you can get on pretty easily because lots of mics need a host.
Yep.
So it's way easier to get a host spot than it is, say, a feature spot.
And you're not going to walk in and host off of day one. That's like, it's something you kind of have to earn, not as much as getting like a featured spot or something like that, but it is a little bit of an earned privilege to, you have to prove yourself being able to, be quick, work on your feet, things like that. So it was a little bit of an honor that he offered me that. It was like a moment for me. I'm like, okay, well, I'm at least good enough for him to let me do this. So that felt pretty cool. And it was for a St. Patrick's Day show. And I was far more nervous for that than I have been any other show we've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, because here's the thing. You have nerves as well as I do. When you're doing a set of 5, 10, 50, it doesn't matter. Whatever set you're doing, when you get done and walk off the stage, that's when you can catch your breath and relax. But if you're a host, you got to go right the fuck back up there.
I didn't even think of that.
So it's like, all right, I did the thing. Get ready for the next
Yep.
thing. Like there's no time to like chill, and you're always like listening to the comic because you want to say something about what they said, and you want to stay. You can't take
You got to
any
be
of their
in
jokes.
the moment. You got to
Yeah.
be...
And you have to. A good host, which I don't claim to be a good host by any means at this point, but a good host is the leveler, the person who levels the
They
energy in
reset
the room. Yeah.
So if somebody's super high energy, they'll bring them back down to baseline. If somebody's super low energy, you'll pick them back up to baseline.
That way, the next comic doesn't come into a totally different feel than what they're expecting.
Yeah, if I'm a... Is it Brian Wright? Stephen Wright?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm a Stephen Wright, real slow one-liner comedian, and then the next person super high energy, we don't need that huge stark contrast, so the host is a good way to reset.
Bring it. Yep. And also, something I hadn't considered at all. I knew about all that. I talked to you about all that. Thing I hadn't considered is you are also the time management. So if you need to add some time to the show, you're like that night we were trying to get an hour and a half show, and one of the comics didn't show, and so now you've got to add 10 minutes to the show somewhere, and then somebody went like 6 minutes long, so now you got to cut 6 minutes, and you're the guy who has to do that. So sometimes you go up there and you're like, all right, I'm just going to go and bring up the next comedian because you're trying to fire through it, and then the next minute you could go up there and have to do a 5-minute bit. So it was like pretty nerve-wracking, and it was probably the most fun I've had other than the 2 shows where we did really well. So I've got to try to reel back from that and cut time and all that stuff, and then you start getting towards the end of the show, and you find out it's like, hey, we're going to be like 10 minutes short. Can you do some? And I'm like, well, I wasn't ready, but sure. And then, once you've ran out of your material, you can't keep going back and telling a story every time. So then you start working in crowd work and keeping the crowd involved. And it was a lot of fun. It flexed muscles I had never used before. And it was really cool. It was a St. Patrick's Day show, so I went all out. I got a green blazer. I had green sunglasses.
I showed up late in a pink shirt because I didn't think I was going to be there.
Yeah.
This fucking chewed bubblegum wrinkled ass shirt that I had.
I felt like a host. I felt important up there. It was cool. And it was a whole lot of fun. I did some crowd work. Forced crowd work, not just like the little bit of crowd work I did at that other show where I saw something and it was like, okay, I got to go up here and do some crowd work. What can I do? And I actually had to seek out something. And there was a guy on the front row who looked similar to me, but was like in shape with a much nicer beard. And he was also wearing a green blazer.
In shape's a stretch.
Huh?
In shape's a
I
stretch.
said more in shape.
Oh.
Which is not a stretch by any means. Fucking everyone's more in shape than me. And he had on like a really nice green blazer, not one he got at Goodwill 5 minutes before the show for $6.
His beard looked like it came out of a magazine for
Oh,
just
it's
beards
so
only.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so you're going to come in here, green blazer better than mine, beard better than mine. You look better than I do. Why don't you just take the fucking mic and go with it? And then I found out he was cool, so I riffed with him all night, talked about him being Irish and, favorite drinking songs and things like that. Did some like Googled up Irish St. Patrick's Day jokes, just read them off of online, gave credit, all that shit. And it was a whole lot of fun, dude. It was one of those things that like I didn't want to do when I walked in the door, which I feel like that a lot of times. I'm like, I don't even want to be here. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to go home. I don't like this at all. And after I got done, I was like, can I do that again right now? Can we do another show and let me host? Because it was so much fun. I hope I get to host some more because it's, like you said, it's an opportunity to try some jokes that you haven't done before. And in a super chill environment where you're going to be forgotten 2 seconds after you walk off the stage because they're bringing an actual comedian up.
Mm-hmm.
You're not considered a comedian at that point. You're a host. So it was really cool. You haven't hosted anything yet, have you?
No, and I think I'd be good at it because I'm pretty quick. But I feel like if I'm not on, then that's tough. Because sometimes I'll try crowd work or I'll be around people and I'm just like, fuck, I'm off tonight. I'm just nothing's hitting. And then other nights it's like I can't miss.
Yeah.
And I always try whenever I go up at an open mic or something. If the host doesn't break up in between me and the next person, I always try to say something about the previous comedian or the host or whatever, just to kind of, or what's going on in the room, just to try to,
tie it together.
Yeah, and let people know that, I'm present, I'm here in the room and whatnot. But the other thing I've thought of is if I'm going up there to do a 5, I know what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. So as long as I don't just forget my material or it doesn't eat shit, then I'll be fine. I can get through my 5.
Yeah.
But as a host, if you're trying to do everything off the top of your head and you try to riff with somebody out there and it doesn't go, or you do a joke and it doesn't land, it's just how do you dig yourself out of that? So I'd like to try to navigate it, but I wish there was a low stakes way for me to try it first, besides just the whole baptism by fire, which is kind of what we're used to.
And something I learned from doing that host, so because we had the guy who didn't show, no call, no show. Anyway, the guy who wasn't there was slated to go first. So we were like, hey, the next comedian's not ready. They're in the bathroom, whatever. Go up and do some time. And I'm like, fuck, okay. And I wasn't going to do one of my bits because I was saving that in case I needed to do something at the end. So I went up and I was like, okay, what can I do? This is a St. Patrick's Day show. I need to touch on that. So I just told a drunk St. Patrick's Day story. And everything was going good. It was all off the top of the head. It was just recounting an actual thing that happened. And I'm just going with it. And I'm adding a joke here and there. And it was cool, super cool on the fly stuff. You weren't there yet. And I'm just rolling. And then
Trying to think of what story it is.
It was actually about Halloween. I just changed it to St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, the McAdoo story?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm telling this story as if it was on St. Patrick's Day, even though it happened on Halloween. And I get 3/4, 4/5, almost to the end of this thing, and I realize, holy shit, I don't have a way to wrap this up. Because, the nature of that story is it's kind of like a hangover thing. I'm telling you from the perspective of the next day, everyone recounting to me what happened. So I get to the end, and I'm like, so that's the story. I'm like, oh shit, how do I close this thing out?
So then I stabbed a guy, and it was fucking wild. I went to jail. I'm still there. This isn't even real. Yeah. I'm in a padded room right now just saying, I didn't do it.
It was one of those situations where it's like, fuck, I don't know how to end this story, and it's not a good end to a story. That's why I haven't made it a bit, because I don't have a way to close it out. So I'm freaking out. while still talking, which is a weird thing that happens when you're on stage. You're thinking while you're talking. I can't do it in real life, but for some reason when I have a microphone in my hand, I can break it. And I'm like, okay, just keep talking and think and think. And then finally I was like, oh, wait a minute. I don't have to worry about it because this isn't a bit. This is just me hosting. And there's this like little safety net that no matter what you do, as soon as you stop talking, as long as you introduce the next comedian, you're going to get applause because they're applauding for the guy coming on.
Yeah.
So it was like, so that was my drunk story for St. Patrick's Day. I'm sure you guys got a bunch of them. Anyway, here's our next comedian. Just roll right into it. And everyone's like, yeah. And the cool thing is they're already ready to start hearing jokes because even though you're hosting, you're not telling jokes yet.
No, you're just the host.
Yeah. So they're ready to start hearing the actual jokes. So they've already forgotten
I never hold the
about
host
you.
to a high standard either. Like whenever other people are hosting, like they'll do bits and they'll do jokes, but I still don't hold them to a standard because
Right.
they're just hosting.
Yeah.
You know, they're just up there. You know, they're the hype up guy, the warm up
Yeah.
guy. So like, I don't ever.
It's a really cool thing that I now have a ton of respect for people who do it well.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy. Now that I've done it from the other side, and I by no means was the greatest host of all time. I think I did okay. Everyone said I did okay, but it was like the respect I now have for people who do it well. It's like I did not realize what you're going through in between every set. Because while someone's up there talking, all you're worried about is your next 30 seconds you got to do. So
Especially for like the open mics, like I'll watch like, Sean reset the room after like somebody's done some nuclear material and
Yep.
like really just put everybody in a bad mood, and he'll just like okay, and just kind of
yeah. I've always thought Sean was great and thought his comedy was funnier, but the more I learn about comedy, the more I respect him as a comedian. Less about like it's not like I laugh harder and I think he's funnier or anything like that. I've always thought he was funny, but like it seems like every time I learn something about this business, like hosting or whatever, it's like, wow, he's really good at that, and that's not easy.
You know what's weird too is like there's some people who are hilarious in person in conversation. Like I feel like I'm the funny uncle at a barbecue because
Right.
like in conversation I can be pretty funny.
Creepy uncle who touches kids.
Yeah,
but
it's a little touchy. Makes the dog nervous, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like I can be that, but then you wonder if that translates to on stage because some of the funniest people I know, I'll watch them get on stage and they eat all the dick in the world. And then there's some people who aren't super animated, they're not on, and yet they go on stage and they kill.
Yeah.
So like Sean's not like the most on person in conversation.
No,
But
he just
went to
lays
that-
back.
So he had a birthday. The owner of the club had a birthday, and like we had like a surprise roast for him. Mm-hmm. So we went there, and the surprise was because he's the host of the club. He's always doing his material, so we've heard it a bunch.
Yep.
So we're like, oh, this would be really cool.
We all know all of his jokes.
Yeah. And we thought, so we'll each go up there and we'll act like we're doing a comedy show, and we each just took one of his bits
And performed it to him.
and performed it to him. And I thought, what I was going to say is like, I thought, Sean's not the most on person in conversation, but we also did a roast and people were like saying things to him. They were jabbing at him and how fucking quick he was to
Dude,
respond.
he's so quick.
I was like, damn it, where is that in conversation? I guess he's just
laying back.
Laying back.
Yeah. It's
like a tiger in the tall grass. He's ready to strike.
Yeah, anytime someone would like say something from the stage at him, right there with a response, and it was good.
It was the perfect response. Does he need to say something like super fast, a lot of word, or does he just need to be like, boom, and then hit him with something?
Yeah.
Because one guy was like,
It's impressive.
they were like, hey, there was a joke about him and his wife went to a fertility clinic to try to have a kid. And he has a joke about it. He goes, man, I can't remember your fucking joke. He goes, how did that thing go again? No, I'm serious. How does it go? And he goes, well, I hate to ruin the ending for you, but it didn't work. And then the audience just fucking dies. Because, like, if it were me and somebody asked me, I would have just been like, oh, well, actually, let me tell you how my joke goes. I'm just honored that you want to know about my joke. And
It was, that was impressive how quick he was on a lot of that stuff that night.
that was my first roast that I got to go to.
Yep. And apparently no one there, shout out to everyone at Blue Ridge. What the hell? Like, did no one understand the format of a roast? Have you never seen Comedy Central?
Oh man, there were some people treating it like a fucking open mic. They're like, "What about that Chris Rock slap?" I'm like, "Not the place."
This is not where you work out material.
There was a dual birthday, so two people had a birthday.
Yep.
So they were up there as the
One is the owner of the club, one works at the club, and they're both comics,
comics.
obviously.
Yeah, and they're and it was like, okay, they were the what do you say, the people of honor, the
Honorees.
the honorees. So they were the ones who were like ready to roast and shit on, and people get up there and like, "Hey Sean, hey Meredith, how's it going?" how about Chris Rock? And we're like, what the did you guys not understand the assignment? Talk shit about them. They're right there. You're making this very awkward because you're talking, let me tell you about my girlfriend. And I'm like, no.
And also, it's like protocol at a roast, if you've ever seen one at all, is everyone who's on the dais, the people who are doing the roasting, you hit each of them with one little joke or two little lines, and then you really lay into both of them, and then you tell them how great they are. And everyone there did the same thing where they were like, I'm going to tell you how great you are.
And then shit on you.
And then like say one shitty line and then tell you how great you are. It's like the format, and no one was shitting on each other like they should have. Like I personally, like 2 hours before this thing was supposed to happen, just sat down and wrote a line about everyone because like
my ass. Okay, so first off, it was a fun night, and even though the format was a little fucked up, everybody, it was still funny. It was a ton of fun. But like, you call me like an hour beforehand, and you're like, "Have you got anything yet?" I was like, "Oh, I was just gonna write down some stuff real quick because I was busy working on some house stuff." And then on the drive up there, I had my laptop out and I was furiously writing. And the 15-minute ride over, and I'm still sitting in the parking lot, like trying to write something. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Well, that's when I called you. I had just finished writing. I had spent an hour just like, okay, here's what I can say about them, and I was just checking the group message to see who all was on it.
This is why I say old bullshit, because I go up there and I look at what I've written. I put it on my notes on my laptop, transfer it to my phone. It takes up a quarter of the screen. You pull out 4 goddamn full pages, double-sided, single-spaced, 0.2 font. I'm like,
Okay, no. First of all, it was larger font so I could read it from the stage. Second, I can't help it. I'm better than you. That's
was
not my
so
fault.
much. I fell asleep halfway through because I'm like, Jesus, what is this?
It was one line.
Do you remember back in the day when you had to watch a really long movie when VHS was still a thing and you had to take out one tape and put in the second tape?
Oh yeah, like
That was your
Titanic?
roast set. Yeah,
Okay,
your roast
well,
set was
could
Titanic.
Could you call anyone there who tell me I killed and ask them about that? Because everyone was pretty pumped about
Then
it.
it meant you literally killed because people died from exhaustion.
It wasn't
like,
that
it's so long.
It was literally 4 sheets of paper, but that was because it was huge font, so I could read it on the stage. And it was literally one line about 6 different people,
Right.
and then 30 seconds on each of the 2 people we're supposed to be roasting, then telling them how great they are, and then getting off stage. And everyone else would go up and be like, "Well, I've got a line for this person." And then Sean, thanks, and then that's it. I'm like, well, I thought we were supposed because now I look like
you look like an asshole.
yeah, because I went first.
Yeah.
So now I look like the asshole. It's like, okay, obviously this guy took it way too serious, and I was like, I asked in the group, we're like, are we doing just standard roast status? And they were like, yep, just like a regular roast. And I was like, okay, so I got to do a thing for everyone, and I don't know. I just felt like such a dumbass because I was like, the next guy goes up, and I'm like, oh, he must not have much time. And the next guy goes up, and the next guy goes up, and I'm like, what the fuck? Am I the only one who looks like an asshole here who like did the full Comedy Central?
Because I mean, I had nothing I said was really too mean, and you had a couple in there that were a little.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna push it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was still like, I don't know, it was a blast. And then there was a guy who did an anti-roast. The host was good. And then
Dude, Joe fucking killed me. Shout out Joe. You'll probably be on here at some point, buddy.
Joe
but
the baker.
Yep.
He's our resident Jew. He's the only Jew we're not a very Jewish neighborhood.
yeah, he's our token Jew.
He gets up there and does an anti-roast, and we're like halfway through before we realize, and like I said it, I whispered it, and like it went around the room. I was like, he's doing an anti-roast, and people were like, he's doing an anti, and you just heard anti-roast, and everybody got on board, and it was so fucking good.
I told him afterwards, I was like, the funny thing about that whole thing is like, every time he would say something wonderful about someone, I would wait for the release.
Yeah.
And it's like, I knew it wasn't coming.
Because he built tension like a motherfucker. He
Started with me. He was like, John Murphy, I just want to say you're a beautiful man. I love the color of your eyes. You're an amazing person. And then he like starts going, and I'm like, okay, he's going to come back and then be like, hey, and I've been lying this whole time. Or he's saving the real pain for Sean and Meredith, the honorees. Yeah. And he just says wonderful things about everyone and gets off stage. And it was like, I've never been blue-balled so hard in my life.
Yeah,
like,
bad.
I was like, dude, can you fucking go back up there and shit on me?
he got to me and he was like, Travis, you're a talented person and it's going to take you places. I'm like, here's the joke. And then like he says, probably New York or LA, or New York or LA. And I was like, what? And he just kept doing that to everybody. He was like, tension, no release.
And the good thing was the way he wrote the jokes. It wasn't just like, you're great. It was like, let me tell you about the way you look. It's wonderful. Because you're like, oh, here, nope.
Nope.
It was a fucking brutal thing to watch. Also, it makes you feel like an asshole because I shit on him a little bit. And everyone else had a couple of people had a joke about him, and it's like, hey, you're supposed to shit on me too, because now it's just like I said something mean to you, and then you said nothing mean to me.
Now you feel like a dick. Oh, it was so funny. And then Meredith and Sean got up there, and because a roast. I don't know how I feel about, because like I don't want to be mean to anybody,
right?
Because like I don't know when I'm gonna take it to. It's not like I'm better than that. No, not at all. It's just I don't know when I'll push that line and be like really bitchy, because I can. Like I know what it's like. I grew up with two brothers, so like, I know how to be mean.
Yeah.
So like, and
I can make people cry.
Yeah, I can find those buttons and I can push them real quick. So I'm afraid that that's what's gonna happen, and I don't know where the line is, and I'm gonna like hurt somebody's feelings, and I don't want to do that. I'd rather just not. Like I just don't want. I'm not the guy. I don't even want to be in that situation. Just could you?
That's
count me
weird
out?
because you've never had a problem hurting my feelings.
No, not at all. It's people I care about. Is mostly.
Oh, okay. Because like. I cry a lot, and a lot of it's from you.
I feel like your tears are like Gatorade, like
your nourishment.
Yeah. Electrolytes. Salty.
They would be salty as fuck.
And then at the it was kind of cool because I went up there and nobody got offended, nobody took it too far. Everybody was being real cool, and I'd laughed really hard that night, which is always that's the whole reason you go to a comedy club in the first place.
Yeah.
It's like I love whenever I leave there and I can't talk the next day because my voice is gone because I laugh so hard. And then Sean and Meredith get up there, and they fucking hit us with lines. And I swear to God, Sean had to get tipped off. Because, like, some of the lines that he had about us, I'm like, you've been sitting on this for a while. Yeah. Like, that's fucking good.
You held on to that one.
He hit me with one, and then afterwards, he's like, I have no further use for that joke. It might work in your set, so if you want to add it in, you can have it. I'm just like, oh, gee, thanks.
Dude, Brian fucking murdered me.
There's this guy there who's hilarious, and I don't know if...
We're going to have him on.
I'm sure he'll be cool with us saying this, but he went to Joe the Baker, and he goes, Joe, you're a Jew. And then everybody's like, what? And then he's like, haha, burn. But see, Joe is so cool with that extra dark shit.
Oh, yeah. The darker the better for Joe.
Because, like, Brian's not a controversial comic at all.
No.
So to see him do that, was just so... I fell out of my seat. Like, I've never had that happen before, but I did this, and then, he made me laugh, and then my body kind of twisted, and then I fucking fell out of the seat.
I can't control my body. Dude, Brian's the fucking gangster. We're gonna have him on. He's already told me he would come on, so we're gonna have him on soon. But he's in my opinion the funniest in the area.
Yeah,
he's a fucking absolute gangster.
Nightmare.
He's so good. Anyway, he burnt me super hard. The best joke on me all night. I don't know if did we talk about it on here. My faux pas with Norm Macdonald.
No.
Have we not talked about it on here? Okay. I wrote what I thought was a phenomenal joke, and it was a good joke, I think. And it came from, I was listening to a podcast, and someone mentioned about Michael Collins, who is an astronaut. He was another guy on the whole Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin moon landing. He was the guy who drove the ship. And I thought it was, and the podcast wasn't a comedy podcast or anything. They were just talking about how Michael Collins never really got the credit he deserved. And I was like, that's a funny premise because no one actually knows who that is. So I wrote this whole bit about NASA and Michael Collins and technology.
But you tied it into Kim Kardashian.
Yeah. I was like, it's crazy that this dude actually flew a rocket ship on the first ever trip to the moon, maintaining exactly 69 miles above the lunar surface for 28 hours completely alone and by himself, and no one remembers his name, but you know whose name everyone does remember? Fucking Kim Kardashian. And that was one of my hooks, and then I go into talking about how Ray J doesn't get the credit that he deserves for the sex tape that made Kim Kardashian famous. So Ray J is like the Michael Collins of sex tapes, and I thought it was this really cool bring back thing. I was really proud of that writing. And I did it on stage a couple times. It did really well. I was really proud. It was one of the first times that I sat down and was like,
I wrote something that was non-story format.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with anything that ever happened to me. I was like, here's a funny premise. Let me write around it. And a couple nights after I do it, Brian, the guy we were talking about who told Joe he was a Jew, it's okay, Joe already knew.
Yeah.
He just messaged me on Facebook. He's like, hey, have you heard Norm Macdonald's bit about Michael Collins? And I was like, no, I've never heard. I'm not a huge Norm fan. Rest in peace. One of the greatest to ever do it. Comic. Everyone loves him. I've never laughed at his material super hard. So
right.
I've never watched a lot of Norm. Love everything he did on Saturday Night Live. Just never listened to his comedy.
Yeah, I was a fan of him in acting. You know, Dirty Work's one of my favorite movies, but I'm the same way. His comedy was I like it, but it's too dry.
Yeah, it's just not my stiff.
No.
I understand how great he is, and I don't want to hear shit about it, but just not someone I kept up with. I didn't watch all of his specials or anything. So I'd never heard this joke. And he's like, well, I just thought I'd tell you, it's pretty similar to yours. You're probably fine. It's not so similar you can't do yours. Just thought I'd let you know.
Pretty goddamn similar, dude.
Dude, I watched that shit, and he did my fucking bit.
Yeah, but better.
Yeah. I mean,
He didn't have the Kim Kardashian shit in there, did he?
he had a line. He was like, talking about how he's not famous probably because his ass isn't big enough. Like, who the fuck's he talking about? Kim Kardashian. That's 100%. He has a reference to celebrities being famous for having big asses. He has I talk in there about how Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong get all the moon pussy, and Michael Collins doesn't get shit from it. And Norm talks about how they're out there playing golf on the lunar surface, and he's just sitting up in the shuttle looking down like, it'd be cool if I could come down, guys. And like, no, you stay up there. Like, it's so good, and it's so exactly like mine that I almost cried. I was like, I just want to let everyone know I'm not a joke. Like, that was my biggest problem. It's like, I don't want to be a joke stealer. Please don't think I'm a joke stealer.
But it's so obscure that nobody's going to believe that it was parallel thinking.
Yeah.
Everybody's like,
And
okay.
It was 100% parallel thinking. I respect comedy.
After listening to that, I was like, maybe you heard somebody referencing the bit and that stuck in your head and you had like this third-hand account.
didn't.
Yeah.
100%, because I didn't know who Michael Collins was until that podcast. If I had heard that before and wrote it from that, I would have already known about it.
Do you think
him.
somebody listened to the Norm Macdonald bit and then they talked about it on a podcast and didn't do his whole bit?
No, because the podcast was Penn Jillette's Sunday School. It's not a comedy podcast. It's just a general talking heads type situation. And all he said was, Michael Collins doesn't get the credit he deserves. That's why I make sure I tell my kids about him, because he was involved too and no one thinks about it. There was no joke. There was nothing. He just moves on from it. And I was like, who is Michael Collins? And I had to Google him to write my material. So if I had heard any of that before, there's no way I would have not known who he was.
That's what a joke thief would say, though, you know?
Right. Yeah, I know. I'm a fucking 30.
Because
Anyway.
I have people who tell me, I'll say something and they'll be like, that kind of sounds like so-and-so's bit, you know, because that's something that we've seen people full-blown just steal. And we know it's thievery because, like, for example, Kill Tony's a popular podcast. On the open mic, somebody will come in. And it got so bad about this one person just taking stuff they saw on Kill Tony that people sat in the audience and started shouting out the punchlines to the joke because they're like, I got to watch this week's Kill Tony to see what this dude's going to do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was a guy who was doing that before, too. He hasn't been around much. But anyway. He was just stealing Mitch Hedberg, and
oh yeah, I've seen like several people that just do other people's jokes, and like part of me is like, is that how you get into comedy? Like, if you don't know how to write, is it like, you know, if you're going to be in a band and you don't know how to write a song, you cover other people's songs to learn how to do it?
Yeah, I guess, but like,
part of me is like, I want to, if that's what you're doing, and if you say that's what you're going to do, because if you're going to sing a song, you would say, all right, I'm going to do a song. It's by the Cranberries as a zombie.
Sure. But the difference there is you say that.
Right. So is it okay if somebody gets up on stage and says, all right, I'm going to do my favorite Norm Macdonald bit for you? Just to like...
Yeah, well, I think there's a difference in music and comedy in that world, because music, it requires a certain amount of talent and dedication to be able to perform the Cranberries.
And nobody thinks that you just spontaneously wrote that song.
Right.
Whereas like comedy... half of the thing is people think that these are your thoughts that you're just now coming up with.
If it would be okay for someone to just go up and do someone else's comedy, literally anyone could do it. That the fact that comedians have to write their comedy is what separates them.
That's true, because you got to have musical talent. Not everybody can sing,
right? Like,
but everybody that has the ability to speak can do a joke.
Yeah, as long as you can talk, you can do any joke that you've ever heard.
The thing about it is like, it's like, how good can you write / perform, and what. Yeah, so that's what is like. How good is your writing and the performance of your written material?
Now, if I think the better comparison there is songwriters. If you're not a musician, you're a songwriter. You can't just say, here's a song that Miley Cyrus did. Didn't I do a good job of doing it too? And it's like, no, that's already been done. That's already been written. You've done nothing here. And that's the same thing as a comic going up and performing another comedian's bit. They didn't do anything. All they're doing is reciting.
Yeah, that
it's
gets
no
weird
different
too,
than reading a PowerPoint.
Like if Miley Cyrus doesn't write her songs, it's like she's an artist.
Right,
she's
a
not
performer.
the songwriter. Yeah, she's a performer.
That's the difference, I think. But I have too much respect for comedy to steal anything ever. It got to the point where I was so upset about it that everyone else was like, dude, chill. It's okay. Like,
I wasn't. I was like, you should burn for that. He should be allowed back here. He should be.
I think your exact words were, "Get over it, pussy."
Yeah, it's like just rewrite it a little bit. Take away the Michael Collins bit. Stick with the Ray J as like the Yeah, steak.
But it was the perfect comparison. But anyway, I was so upset about it, and that dwelled on me for a long time.
Here's $1 million idea. Somebody come up with a fucking database to where you can search joke premises and it gives you...
Dude, tell me about it, because I can't tell you how many times I've been like, I feel like I've heard that somewhere, but I don't know where. Or you'll be like, that's like all our texts back and forth are.
It's so hard to ask people that too. It's like, hey, has anybody ever heard about, like, you know how on Tinder guys will send people dick pics, but since I dated before Tinder, I had to hand them an actual picture of my dick. Has that been done? Has that been? And like, you have to give somebody this fucking just idiotic idea. Like, you're having to tell them a piece of a joke, and it just makes it sound like you fucking ate mushrooms for breakfast.
Yeah.
And you're like, have you ever heard of that?
And there's no way to Google it, because I've tried every possible way.
Rainbow Kitten surprise. Has anybody used that as a punchline yet?
It's like half of our texts back and forth are, hey, have you heard blah, blah, blah?
And then it's always this, I think so, but I can't remember. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, fuck, that helps me zero. Thanks
Yeah.
a lot, asshole.
And
But what did I expect you to say? Yes, I've listened and consumed every single thing
Right,
ever.
yeah.
I've read every fucking Reddit comment. That's the other thing, too. So many things are hilarious, but you saw it on a meme, and you're like, is that a joke? Am I stealing from a comedian?
Yeah.
Or did I read this on a fucking meme, and it just stuck back there in my subconscious somewhere, and when I needed a punchline, it's like, here's the perfect one. And am I allowed to perform that?
Right.
Because it's not stand-up. It's a meme.
Right.
But, I mean, someone else wrote that joke.
And then you get to a point where it's like, what's left?
Yeah,
Like,
there's so many memes and comments and
there's so
people
many
being
memes
funny.
and comedians and comics and jokes that have been put on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else. And it's like, at some point, you have to just accept that, like, someone else is going to have done a joke about watching porn. Someone else is going to have done a joke about having sex with their wife. You just got to do it different enough, I think. But anyway, that whole big rant, that whole big story was to tell you about Brian, who was the one who brought up Norm Macdonald. He knew how much it bugged me. And he was the first person to be like, dude, yours is different enough. You can just keep doing it.
Oh,
Plus,
but then,
Norm's
like-
dead. You're fine.
But then during the roast,
And then during the roast, he fucking lit me up. And he was like, John Murphy, he said something about me. And then he's like, but seriously, you easily have my second favorite Michael Collins joke I've ever heard. And I was like, oh, you motherfucker.
my favorite was he was like, yeah, I didn't have enough time to write all the stuff like you did, Murphy. It's mostly because I have shit to do. And then he was like, if I didn't say anything about your night, it's because I respect you. And he didn't say anything to me. And I took that as like, I didn't take that as, oh, he must respect me. I was like, oh, I must not be notable enough for him to fucking shit on me.
He just doesn't give a fuck
Yeah,
about you.
exactly.
what
That's
that
how I
is.
took that.
Yeah.
You know what's cute too? Like our podcast maybe gets 7 to 8 downloads. But the amount of
Kind
people,
a fucking big deal.
kind of a big deal. I mean, big dick laying on the table.
Yep.
But the amount of people who are like, I want to do your podcast, and we're just like, well,
Yeah,
we'll see if
at
we can
this point
schedule.
have
Talk to the
more
booker.
offers for guests than we have viewers, which makes me wonder, like, why do you want to be on a podcast? Because
You
you're
don't
obviously
listen
not
to
even watching it.
Oh man,
It is. It's pretty. It's pretty dope that we have that many.
pretty-
Here's the thing, like, all you bitches who watch this,
all you bitches.
Yeah,
we don't get
that's-
to talk mean to the 7
no,
people.
Listen,
Those are our
fuckers.
diehard fucking fans,
No, listen here, fuckers.
and that's only because I have 4 email accounts.
There's like a huge group thread with all the comics, and everyone's like, glad you posted today. Nina today was like, give me someone to, yeah, but are you actually listening? Are you out there, motherfuckers? Because I don't think you are, because our download numbers show that you aren't.
Comment an eggplant emoji right now.
Yep.
Stop what you're doing. Hit pause. 3, 2, 1. Eggplant emoji. That's how we'll know who's.
That's who's actually listening and who's just playing it so that they can say they helped us.
Yeah, damn it. But yeah, we're gonna have a lot more
That
guests
sounds like
on here.
some fucking influencer shit. Like, everyone, stop what you're doing.
Stop what you're doing.
Drop a comment below. What do you think the color's going to be when I open this box
Hit the
in 3
comment button.
seconds?
That's the only way that we get out there to YouTube and let us know what you think right now. Smash that like button.
I feel-
Smash that like button.
I feel like a fucking piece of shit.
The thing is I have to do that because I have a
I know.
YouTube channel that I care about, and a lot of times I'm like, what's? And I'm like, fuck, that wasn't enough energy. That was too much energy. I was just like, I'm losing my mind. I can't even speak. How are you supposed to talk again? I forgot how to talk.
Give me a cubicle. I just want to go back to normal.
Even when I end this fucking thing, because it's so ingrained in me, like when I get to the end of it, I'm like, oh, I can do this. And I switch on to like autopilot radio voice. I'm like, well, that's everything we've got today. Thank you so much. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment if you haven't already. $5 off now. Oh my God, I was such an asshole.
I'm going to start doing the outros from now on.
Go for it. I'll say this just because I feel like a piece of shit. So there was this comedy knockout thing that was kind of cool. So it was like you had to write a 1 minute bit, and you went head to head March Madness style.
Yeah,
of course,
I
that's
couldn't do it.
copyrighted.
I wanted to do that, and then I remembered
I
don't have
did
any
not
1 minute
want to do it
jokes.
because I don't have 1 minute fucking jokes. Everything I've gotten is in this big giant chunk. So I wrote one 1 minute joke. And I'm like, cool.
Everything you've got is 6 minutes condensed to 5.
Condensed to 5. Yeah, I'm like, I don't have that goddamn minute. So whenever they used to do a minute joke, I'm like, okay, I'll give you my best 3 condensed to 1. So there's 0 time for me to breathe or anybody to laugh. So I do this knockout
It's okay.
thing.
They weren't gonna laugh anyway.
So you'd be surprised. So I wrote one joke, one 1 minute joke, and I was very proud of myself for it. And I go up there and I just kind of workshopped it on people the night before at the open mic, and they kind of laughed. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write that, and then I made it a thing. I'm like, I got one joke because I knew I was getting put out round 1, and I made it 3 round 1. I'm like, oh. Fuck, I did not come prepared. So I started going through my jokes. I'm like, what do I got? I'm like, okay, take this chunk here. People like it when I make fun of myself for being gay. Okay, here we go. So I'm like, let's do that one. Made it through again. And I'm like, son of a bitch. And I just kept...
I'm in trouble.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay. Last night at the open mic, I told a 6 minute story that I condensed to 5 minutes. Let's take a chunk out of that and do a minute. Not a single laugh was given. It was so bad.
I wish I could have been there.
Yeah.
Not to do it, just to see that.
Oh, but like I felt really bad because at one point, you know, it was like a live voting system, so you get to watch like a little graph between you and this other person. And there's this guy there, he's a great guy. Fucking can't remember his name, so I sound like a piece of great guy. Don't know him. Great guy, never met him. So he's got these fucking.
You know who you are, probably.
Yeah,
You're not
probably
listening. It's fine.
Fucking, he's like in shape, decently attractive dude, a little shorter than me. So not many people. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know who that could be.
Fuck is his name? Anyways, great teeth. What the fuck is this? I think it starts with a J. It's coming to me. Anyway, so we're battling it out, right?
Dick is delicious.
That tastes so good. Like strawberry Mountain Dew. A little sweet. Makes my foot hurt. What is it with you and your
Goddamn
feet?
diabetes,
Oh,
dude.
diabetes.
Everything is a diabetes reference for you.
My
Anyway.
aunt lost her foot and she died with a cookie in her hand.
Yeah.
It's sad, but I think it's hilarious. It's not hilarious. It's tragic. That's how I deal with my pain. Anyways,
The worst part about your aunt dying from diabetes is the fact that everything comes back to diabetes for you now. I wish she was still alive so she could die from
they
something
tell that
else
story
for you
like
to
it's an
talk
urban
about.
legend, you know, like the cult's coming from inside the house. They're like, she died with a cookie in her hand because she took too much. Missy, this is for you. She took too much insulin, which is very sad. She gets up in the middle of the night and she goes to get a cookie, and apparently she didn't make it. You know.
She made it to the cookies.
She made it to the cookie, but she just couldn't.
She was so
just
close.
come on. If I would have been there, I'd be like, "Come on, you can do it. Just nom. You've been doing it your whole life. That's part of the problem. That's why you're in this situation." But she's got all these fucking dogs, and my dad's like, you know, them dogs wouldn't even touch the cookie. Dogs are pretty smart when they know something's wrong. They wouldn't even touch the cookie. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, the dogs wouldn't pry the fucking sweet treat out of their dead owner's hand. Their life. What? Like, I think that's probably pretty reasonable, unless you just have an well, maybe not. I don't know. Some dogs are assholes. Point is, this dude, okay, way off track. Let's get it back on the rails. There's this dude.
Hang on. My great grandma.
Your great grandma died with a cookie. No. Do we just become extra best friends?
No.
Who is your great grandma?
You never met her. I never met her. She died before I was born.
okay.
But Dad was telling me about her. And I'm going to tell you exactly how he told me about her dying. Okay. So my grandpa
People are
had
gonna
a
think we're
picture
the
of her.
worst fucking humans ever.
Oh yeah. My grandpa had a picture of her up in his house, and I was like, "Who's this?" And my dad's like, "That's your great grandma." And I was like, "Oh, when did she die?" He was like, "Probably 10 years before you were born." And I was like, "How'd she die?" And he goes, "Well, she was diabetic." And I was like, And he's like, "That didn't get her. And we're pretty sure she had cancer." And I'm like, And he's like, "But that didn't get her." And he said, she was 104 years old, smoked a pipe every day. And I was like, And she chewed tobacco. I was like, well, that's not very ladylike, but He goes, "Yep." And then she choked death on a chicken bone.
Oh my god. I'm like,
I was like, why did you leave? What was this like suspense thriller you took me on?
choose your own adventure, Death Grandma edition. I don't remember reading that Goosebumps edition.
Oh my God.
Something's wrong with Grandma. Is
Died
it
at
cancer?
104,
Nope.
choked death on a chicken bone.
Dude, my mom gets so mad at me because like I think it's so funny. Like, cause like I've had a rough couple years. Like I've lost a lot of relatives in a short amount of time. But I find something humorous in all of it.
That's because you have a heart of gold.
I know. But like when I was a kid, I had this uncle who committed suicide. It's very sad. Very sad. But he had a special shoe because one of his legs was and that has nothing to do with anything. But I can't stop making fun of that. And my mom, she was just like, you know, someone accused him of being a pervert or something. And I don't know what that means. Probably kitty toucher in those terms because they used to church everything back then. Like, and he goes, and he wouldn't do that. That would have killed him. I'm like, no, I don't think that would have. I know what did. She goes, what's that? Probably 12 gauge. My dad's dying laughing. I'm like, or was it a 20? Was it a 20 gauge share? I don't know guns. And I'm like, I know it's so fucked up that like she's talking about this guy dying and how he was sweet and he was this nice man and this and that. And all I could think of was like, yeah, but he had that one big ass shoe. You remember that fucking shoe? Because he had that weird leg. You think that fucked with his driving? I know you're not supposed to drive with flip flops. Anyways, there's a guy and we're at this comedy thing and it's like March Madness, right? And I'm watching the numbers go and Sean's like, oh man, I feel like I'm in a and he's like starts trying to talk fast. And he was like, yeah, I feel like I, could do an auction or something like that. I'm like, I for sure could do that. And he goes, I would pay money just to watch you do an auction because you talk so fast. I was like, and I grabbed the mic, not thinking about it, just because I'm like, I could do this. And then I just start doing like an auction thing. And I was like, $5 now, go. Just because like, I know I can talk fast. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I thought it would be cool to kind of just joke around with Sean. And I didn't realize that like, it's a competition. It's between me and this other guy. And here I am like fucking grabbing the mic, being like, oh, look at me. And as soon as I put it back, I felt so fucking gross and so shitty. And the guy grabs the mic and he goes, do I get another joke too? And I was like, oh, I'm such a piece of shit. I was like, just let him win. Please, for the love of God, let him win. And I edged, no. No. And then like the next joke, dude, it was so bad. Like I think I just like if people maybe like me or they felt sorry for me. But like the next joke, it was me against Joe. And neither one of us had a joke. Like I had a joke that didn't get laughs. And he didn't really have a joke, and we're just both like, and he beat me by 2 votes. And I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? I got 0 fucking laughs. I'm like, don't vote for me. Like, let me lose.
They were just like, well, he seems like a nice feller. Look at him.
He needs this.
He's going to have a hard time when he comes out.
Alrighty. Anyways, well, something we like to do on this podcast is we like to break down famous comedic bits because something we've learned from our short time in stand-up comedy is no matter how good you think somebody is, it's not like it's some sort of magic that they were born with. There is a method to the madness. So since we've been doing comedy for a few months now, we see it a little differently than we did when we were just fans. So we're going to watch a Chris Rock bit now because he's all in the news, so might as well. We talked about him on the last episode, so we're going to break down one of his bits.
Plus, he's one of my favorite comedians
Absolutely.
and an influence on the reason that I got into this. So, I mean, and his comedy slaps or gets slapped. Anyway.
So
I was sitting on that.
Fuck you for
I
that
was
one.
sitting on that one for a minute.
So we're going to watch Chris Rock Gun Control. We'll link the video in the description, and we're going to listen through it, and then we'll talk a little bit about it.
We can just talk as it goes through.
Fuck it. Let's do it. Yeah, I'll just point at our
You know, I was
producer.
just in my hotel a little while ago on my way here, and I got in the elevator, right? I'm getting in the elevator, and these 2 high school white boys tried to get on with me, and I just dove off. I said, y'all ain't killing me. I am scared of young white boys. If you white and under 21...
Couple of things.
Seems like a story.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a story, I'm sure. Couple of things. First of all, how does anyone watch him without looking at his hand?
Couple of white boy. And like, that's something like a lot of people need a persona or a shtick to separate themselves because that's what's so cool about it. We talked about, anybody, if they could read, could do someone else's joke, but can you perform it like Chris Rock? Because he's got a very specific cadence, rhythm, speech.
Yep. Also,
His hand.
We'll look it up after we get so she doesn't have to close out of this, but I'm assuming this came out around
By the leather on leather.
Columbine.
The Matrix. When did that come out? 97?
All I know is that he's talking about teenage white boys, and the last time that was a relevant thing.
I think it's funny now too because it's like he's a imposing black dude in an elevator, and he's scared of the young white boys as opposed to the other way around.
That's what makes it funny, I think.
Yeah.
And I think something that Chris Rock takes advantage of a lot is because he's got that loud yelling persona, and he's like, I got on an elevator with 2 white boys, and then his
white boys.
Instead of his punchline being the high energy thing, his punchlines are when he gets quiet. He's like, and I just dove off. Like that release of energy. I think that's a cool thing that you don't see a lot of people do, is like they're super high energy through all of the setup and then drop energy for the actual punch. So
I'm trying to see when it came out. So
this is Bigger and Blacker. I'm almost positive.
Okay. Go ahead.
When I'm running for the hills. What the hell is wrong with these white kids shooting up the school?
Yeah,
They don't
99.
even wait till 3 o'clock either. Killing people in the morning, that ain't right. It's that trench coat mafia. No one would play with us. We had no friends in the trench coat mafia. Hey, I saw the yearbook picture. It was 6 of them. I ain't
Hey,
have
pause real
6
quick.
friends in high.
Battery just fucking died.
What did?
Battery's down on the camera, so I'm gonna
Pause.
So this may be an audio-only podcast.
Are we still going?
Go for it.
Okay.
I ain't have 6 friends in high school. I don't got 6 friends now. Shit, that's 3-on-3 with a half court. What the hell is wrong with these kids? I got people telling me, come on, Chris, come up to a school, talk to the kids. I'm like, fuck the kids.
I agree.
Do you got a vest? Maybe I'll think about it. And everybody want to know what the kids was listening to. And what kind of music was they listening to? Or what kind of movies was they watching? Who gives a fuck what they was watching? Whatever happened to crazy?
That's a good point. Pause it.
3-on-3 with a half court.
I absolutely love. We always talk about trimming the fat. Like when we're working on a joke, it's like you don't need to say it 3 different ways. Just say it. He says it all kinds of ways every joke, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
Why is it he can do it and no one else can?
Because his delivery, he's like so animated, and he's really trying to drive it home. And I don't know.
Like when he was talking about everybody want to know what they was listening to. What kind of music the kids was listening to. What are they listening to? Like you don't need to say that 3 times.
I think he's just building up the extra tension, so when he does give the release, it's like, yes.
Who gives a fuck what they was listening to? Whatever happened to crazy? I love Chris Rock so much. All right, roll it.
What happened to crazy? Well, you can't be crazy no more? Do we eliminate crazy from the dictionary? Fuck the record, fuck the movie, crazy. When I was a kid, they used to separate the crazy kids from everybody. When I was a kid, the crazy kids went to school in a little ass bus. They had a class at the end of the school, and they used to get out of school at 2:30. Just in case they went crazy, they would only hurt other crazy kids.
That is so offensive right now. Awesome. Do you remember our high school having the fucking trailers outside?
Where they would separate like the biters. Give him the fat crayon. He needs those big ass fucking.
Dexterity. You cannot do this joke now. So offensive. That way that only hurt the other crazy kids. That's alrighty then. Go ahead.
And we was all safe. We was all safe. Then the world coming to an end. World coming to an end. You're going to have little white kids saying, I want to go to a black school where it's safe. That's right, man. And everybody talking about gun control. Got to get rid of the guns. Fuck that. I like guns. You got a gun, you don't have to work out. I ain't working out. I ain't jogging. You got pecs, I got texts.
You go, what?
Pecs, I got text.
Shit.
Tech
You
nine.
don't need no gun control. You know what you need? We need some bullet control. we need to control the bullets. That's right. I think all bullets should cost $5,000. $5,000 for a bullet. You know why? Because if a bullet costs $5,000, there'll be no more innocent bystanders. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good take.
So, a little bit of a delay.
Yet again, this is why he hits you.
Yep, you deserve it. What was I gonna say? I had a point. I think this is. I like when comedians can do like this, smart comedy, which is like they take something and they try to, the modern day philosopher thing, where it's like he's got a smart take about gun control.
Yeah.
It's not really that smart of a take, but it's just unique. Make the bullets really expensive.
Yeah.
No more innocent bystanders.
Which I've heard several comics talk about since then, but obviously he was the first to do it because he's Chris Rock. God damn it.
Every time somebody gets shot, you be like, damn, he must have did something. Shit, they put $50,000 worth of bullets in his ass. And people will think before they kill somebody if a bullet costs $5,000. Man, I would blow your fucking head off if I could afford it. I'm gonna get me another job, I'm gonna start saving some money, and you a dead man. You better hope I can't get no bullets on layaway.
Back when layaway was the thing.
So even if you get shot by a straight bullet, you won't have to go to no doctor to get it taken out. Whoever shot you, take their bullet back. I believe you got my property. That's right, man. See, everybody blame the kids. It's fucking crazy, and everybody want to be mad at the kids for shooting up the school. What about the parents? The parents. The parents is really fucked up, man. The damn parents need to go to jail for some of this sucking shit, man.
Here it is.
Well, there's probably some more to that we missed out, but it wasn't a story. That was just straight up commentary.
Yeah.
Which I like. So that was basically the bigger and blacker version of Jerry Seinfeld. He's like, what's the deal with these kids shooting each other?
Fuck the kids, man.
That 3-on-3 with a half court.
Can I just real quick talk about how fucking trashy I am? How much of a fucking podunk redneck ass motherfucker I am. The only thing I took from that when he was like, whoever shot you, get your bullet back. I'm like, that's not how bullets work. No.
They're going to be all messed up.
Yeah, you ain't even going to be able to reload that thing because the bullet, you're going to have to pack it again and powder it, and it's going to be all disformed, especially if it hit any bone. Like, that's all I was thinking about. I've got to stop being that person. I hate me for that.
He's like, trench coat mafia. I'm like, well,
Dude, that was my favorite part of that.
Well, he says that, but he's in like a
There
FUBU
was
leather
6 of
jacket.
them.
Because that was back in the 2000 when like all the clothes were baggy. So I'm like, bro, your leather jacket, pretty much trench coat. I mean, let's be honest.
But that was also when an actual trench coat back then was like 40 sizes too big.
And had 18 buckles because it came from like Hot Topic, and people were wearing those boots
yeah.
with the other 40 buckles.
I'd still wear that shit.
All right. Well, anyways, that's our breakdown of Chris Rock. Let us know what
Apologies if we did lose all of the footage at the beginning. We'll make sure it doesn't happen again.
I'll apologize to each of you in person.
Yeah.
See you on Wednesday.
Yeah, see you on Wednesday. Just stop by. We'll say sorry.
All right, so that was our breakdown. Let us know what you think. If you agree with us, disagree with us, let us know what you'd like to see us break down in the future. Yeah, so other than that, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye.
Thanks to
Let's
both of
be clear
you.
about this, guys. We're not going to agree on everything.
I'm new in town.
How was your day? How the fuck was your day?
I'm the machine!